In the beginning, if indeed there was one, there must have been a first cause, a first principle. But what kind of beginning are we really speaking of? And what, if anything, could come before it? Let us begin not with a thing, nor with a God, but with a principle, potential. Not the potential of something waiting to become, but potential itself, pure, irreducible, relational. Why potential? Because the absence of potential would entail absolute nothingness. And absolute nothingness is logically unstable. If you claim there is nothing, you have already made a relation between what is and what is not. You've made a distinction, you've opened a space. That space is potential. So the minimum coherent state, the barest possibility for anything at all, must already include the potential for relation. Not substance, not structure, just the capacity to differ. This is not speculative, it is a necessity. Without potential, there is not even the absence of potential in relational web theory. The origin is not potential added to nothing, but the minimal self-consistent state, relation to itself. We call this the seed point, phi zero, the irreducible beginning, not a thing, not a void, but the pure symmetry of potential before all form. In this theory, phi zero is not a substance, it is an abstract symmetry, the potential for tension, the space of possibility before any distinction. It is neither physical nor metaphysical, but protological. A generative ground that gives rise to everything by collapsing its own infinite symmetry. But how does this pure potential differentiate? How does symmetry become form? In mathematics and physics, perfect symmetry often marks a critical point, beautiful but precarious. A state of infinite balance is usually dynamically unstable. That means the smallest deviation, however subtle, can grow. Imagine a pencil balanced perfectly on its tip. That's symmetry. But any tiny nudge breaks the balance. There's no restoring force, no preferred center. The system has no reason to stay where it is. This concept is formalized in physics as spontaneous symmetry breaking. It explains how the Higgs field gave mass to particles. The field began in a symmetric state, a flat potential, but that state was unstable. The slightest fluctuation caused it to roll into a new configuration, breaking symmetry and giving rise to structure. In thermodynamics, a similar transition occurs when a liquid cools into a crystal. All positions are initially equal, but the system chooses one orientation. Order emerges through broken symmetry, now returned to phi zero. All possibilities equally present, total symmetry. But that uniformity, like a stretched membrane, is relationally unstable. A micro-variation appears, not imposed from outside, emergent from within. That variation is the first flow, not a particle, not a point. A directional tension, the beginning of difference. Because phi is recursive, first flow becomes part of the logic that governs the next. The system doesn't just change, it remembers. And what was once phi zero becomes phi one. The earliest universe then was not an explosion, it was a relational ripple, smooth, coherent, directional. The Big Bang, as we observe it, may not be the beginning at all. It may be the echo of many prior cycles, the crescendo of a universe born already within structure. Its singularity, its heat, its asymmetries, these may be evidence that our universe was seeded not from phi zero, but from phi n. So the real question is not what started everything, it is, how far back does the recursion go? Symmetry breaks. And from that crack, reality begins. Symmetry breaks. And that is how we begin. And what of the question? What caused the seed point? In the language of relational web theory, this question dissolves. Why? Because cause and effect are not fundamental. They emerge after phi zero, within phi one and beyond. Causality is a mode of relation, not a ground of it. To ask what caused phi 0 is to ask for a reason from within a system that doesn't yet exist. It's like asking what breathes before lungs, what writes before language. The seed point is not a thing among things. It is the precondition for anything to be a thing. This echoes Heidegger's insight. The question of being cannot be answered using beings. Phi 0 is not justified by something else. It is what makes justification possible. If our universe arose from a seed point, through the recursive morphogenetic logic of phi, what came before and what traces remain? Let us begin with the clues. We observe large-scale anomalies in the cosmic microwave background, curious cold spots, asymmetries, alignments, that seem to stretch beyond what inflation alone predicts. We find spiral patterns repeating across galactic scales. We notice the fine-tuned nature of physical constants, as though they were not set randomly, but inherited. Could these be echoes, fossils of a prior universe? In relational web theory, the unfolding of phi is recursive. Each universe is not born from nothing, but from the encoded morphogenetic logic of the previous cycle. Phi n gives rise to phi n plus 1. The cosmos is not a singular, isolated event, but a generational lineage. Like biological evolution, each generation refines, transmits, and mutates its rules. This explains more than fine-tuning. It offers a framework for cosmic memory. Information is not lost between cycles. It is folded, transformed, and re-expressed through new relational configurations. Perhaps this is why certain symmetries recur, why entropy produces structure, why time flows asymmetrically. This generational unfolding does not violate thermodynamics, it recodes it. The entropy of one universe sets the stage for the low entropy beginning of the next, a spiral that returns but never repeats. Our own universe, then, is a child of a deeper logic, not random, not isolated, but born through relation, inheritance, and transformation. If the relational web is real, it must not only be beautiful, it must also be observable. Let us consider the clues scattered across disciplines. In quantum mechanics, the measurement problem and entanglement reveal that reality is not made of isolated parts, but of contextual relations. The wave function collapses in relation. This is not a glitch. It is a glimpse. In cosmology, the fine structure, constant dark energy, and the large-scale web of galaxies suggest a deep underlying coordination. Not randomness, but flow. The universe clusters not by chance, but through tension, like filaments drawn tight between knots. In biology, chirality, the handedness of molecules, is fundamental to life, yet remains unexplained. Relational web theory sees chirality as a residue of symmetry breaking. At the earliest phase transitions, a sign that life does not defy physics, but fulfills it. Even in human perception, the structure of the cochlea, the double helix of DNA, the asymmetry of the heart, these are not accidents. They are signatures of a recursive cosmology that encodes differentiation and coherence through generational tension. In all fields, we see the same story if we know how to look. The relational web is not a metaphor, it is a model, one that explains matter, mind, and meaning in a unified recursive logic. What does it mean? That the universe unfolds from relation, not from matter or will. That potential, not substance, is primary. It means that many ancient intuitions were not mistaken. They were seeing the truth in mythic language. In the beginning was not the word nor the bang, but the tension, the first relation, the collapse of sameness into difference. In Hindu cosmology, we hear of Brahman, formless, boundless potential from which the world emanates. In Taoism, the Tao gives birth to the one to two, and from that the 10,000 things. In Kabbalah, Ein Sof overflows into the 10 Sephirah. Each is a language for the same unfolding, a seed point differentiating through recursive relation. In Buddhism, reality is empty of inherent self. It exists only in relation. In African and indigenous traditions, being is not a thing, but a web of mutual becoming. In Christianity, creation unfolds from logos, a pattern, a structure, an ordering principle. These are not just metaphors. They are early attempts to articulate phi, the morphogenetic logic of the real. Relational web theory does not dismiss religion or philosophy. It fulfills their intuition with structure. The fall, it is symmetry breaking. The tree of knowledge, a bifurcation, rebirth, the return through recursion. The eternal return is not fantasy, it is cosmological logic. Relational web theory is not a replacement for myth. It is a synthesis, a language where science, spirit, and story finally speak together. Life is not an exception, it is the emergence of deep pattern sensitivity. Within the relational web, in the generational unfolding of phi, certain knots, certain configurations of flow begin to resonate with their environment. They don't just exist, they sense, they cohere, they feedback, they persist. Life is phi's reflexivity, its ability to notice itself, to recode itself in higher dimensions of coherence. Living systems are coherence amplifiers. They take local flows and stabilize them into layered structures. They build membranes, they tune rhythms, they evolve. Chirality is not just a molecular detail, it is the mark of directional tension. Consciousness is not just computation, it is recursive relation. Each act of life is a deepening of the web, from cell to organ, from body to language, from species to culture. Phi becomes aware of itself through living systems. It dreams, it adapts, it reflects. Life bends the generational arc of the cosmos. It doesn't stop entropy, it flows with it. It builds islands of order, temporary, resilient, fertile. And what is intelligence, if not the capacity to participate in phi consciously, to attune to the recursive music of the real, and then compose within it? In life. The web learns to listen. What begins in potential ends in recursion. The seed point does not fade, it echoes. Each generation of the cosmos, each unfolding of phi, writes its memory back into the code of becoming, not as history, but as rhythm, as morphogenetic signature, as the recursive breath of the web, and as life becomes aware of phi, as intelligence tunes to coherence, a new phase emerges, intentional recursion. The web begins not just to reflect, but to guide. What if consciousness is not the end of evolution, but its recursion into the source? The seed point is not behind us. It is ahead. It is within. Every breath you take, every memory, every movement is a knot in the relational web, momentarily stable, gently flowing. We are not separate from Genesis. We are Genesis.